Shalom from Jerusalem. This is TV7's Israel at War update. And as we're set to discuss the latest developments throughout the region, it's first and foremost important to highlight that today we mark day 685 since the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates launched their atrocities on southern Israel, namely on October 7th of 2023. And as we're speaking, the IDF is already preparing the ground for a massive invasion, while Jerusalem has yet to deliver its response to the Egyptian Qatari proposal, which Hamas had reportedly accepted. All the while, we are also seeing calls by various countries to bring about the release of all hostages as quickly as possible, and warning that an IDF operation in Gaza City will be devastating. So for the first time in a long time, we're not now seeing some type of pressure on Hamas to really get to its senses and bring about some sort of an arrangement that would bring an end to this war. But let's introduce our experts for today, to include Mr. Amir Oren, who is TV7's editor-at-large. Next to him, retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmett, who formerly served as a U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs. And last but not least, Brigadier General in Reserve Doron Gavish, the commander of the Israeli Air Force Task Force for Air and Missile Defense. It's great to see all three of you. And Mr. Oren, let's start with Gaza to briefly fill in the blanks with regard to our current state of play.
So, Jonathan, you cited some outside calls on Hamas to relent, but pleading is not pressing. The Western nations have nothing to offer Hamas, and those who can put pressure on Hamas can evict Hamas representatives. They shouldn't be called leaders, but representatives residing in pleasure palaces at Doha. They do not do it. And the Israeli operation starts rolling gradually. The Israeli public is quite bewildered. What's the new angle here, given that the IDF has been to various neighborhoods of Gaza City, as well as other parts of Gaza Strip, several times over? And the answer is probably that this time the IDF is being sent there in order to stay. Now, the coordinator of government activities in the territories, the COGAT, has already sent notices to various humanitarian agencies in Gaza to start preparing the population for its move south. Because once combat begins or resumes in the streets and blocks of Gaza, whoever is in the crossfire will obviously be hurt. And this means that preparations are now in high gear. The notices for reserve soldiers in Israel to be ready to mobilize and replace those soldiers in regular units in other sectors who are going to come into Gaza. There are several brigade combat teams being ready. This is all in the works. However, should there be negotiations between Israel and Hamas, the Israeli cabinet, for some reason, has not deliberated yet the positive response by Hamas to the latest offer. Obviously, they are stalling. They want Hamas to feel pressure, but early next week, push will come to shove.
Indeed. Well, General Kimmett, the word coming out of Washington, other than highlighting the fact that the there is immense pressure on Hamas to come to terms with a certain arrangement are the words of President Trump, who on Truth Social just 2 days ago highlighted that the only way to return all of the hostages from Hamas captivity is to obliterate Hamas, destroy it. Is this something that Israel is taking to heart?
Well, I think the preparations that we're seeing would indicate that Israel is prepared to do whatever is necessary to get the hostages back. But I agree with Amir that this may be this call up of 60,000 reservists, the movements, the activities could indicate that you're capable and you're willing, and using that as a threat to Hamas, that if they don't change some of the terms of what's on offer, that you're going to do this exercise, and hopefully they'll come to their own conclusion and say all of the hostages aren't worth the total obliteration of Gaza. So let's call it a day, hand back the hostages and the bodies, and see what we can do from there.
Just a correction, not 6,000, 60,000, with the extension of another 20,000, with the estimated force to conduct this maneuver estimated at roughly 120,000 forces. So it is a declaration of intent, absolutely. An exclamation mark. General Gavish, do you think that this is enough to dissuade Hamas from continuing to fight and for its own good, and actually for the benefit of the residents of Gaza City, to come to a final conclusion?
That's the $1 million question, Jonathan. I think that from the one hand, we are saying it more than time and more than once, and we had this feeling that we are just about to make it with the Hamas, and then we saw that it was not exactly like this. We have to remember that the Hamas is a terrorist organization. We have to remember that they are really looking only on their own interest. They see the residents of the Gaza Strip as a tool, but I'm not sure that they really care about them. I'm pretty sure that they are not. I would say so. It is very hard to estimate, but we have to do some assumptions, and we still have this option, and so why not to exhaust it? And then we might find ourselves in another point of decision making, or we did what we could do, and it was a success. So very hard to know. It's a terrorist organization. We need a lot of patience fighting against them, and we also have to remember that we have 50 hostages. 20 of them are alive. This is something that we have to remember. It is also a part of our war goals. Make it a little bit more complicated, but this is the situation that we are in.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Oren, let's divert our attention now to Lebanon, where after a year of incarceration, an Israeli civilian is returned to Israel following extensive negotiations between Beirut and Jerusalem, next to another Israeli aerial strike, targeted assassination of yet another Hezbollah terror operative of the Radwan force. What can you tell us about those two incidents?
So the coordinator for prisoners of war and missing persons, also hostages, retired Brigadier General Gal Hirsch, was credited by Prime Minister Netanyahu for springing the release of this Israeli who apparently crossed the border voluntarily. That happens in almost every border that Israel has. Sometimes they are adventuresome. Sometimes these people are not too stout of mind. And apparently the Lebanese government right now is strong enough to take it over from whomever is holding these poor people. Now, as for the strike, there was more than one strike. You are referring to a strike against a certain person, but Israel also struck some munitions depots that Hezbollah has been preparing in South Lebanon, and the signal is very consistent. Israel will not let Hezbollah build up its force, even though it may hold its fire. Now, the standard is not whether the potential becomes actual. Israel would not let Hezbollah build up its potential.
Absolutely. Well, one of the points that is quite evident, and that is that the Iranians are putting extra effort into the smuggling of munitions towards their proxy in Lebanon. They do not want to see a scenario in which their prized asset in this country is completely disarmed, and we are seeing additional trucks every time being or transiting through northern Syria, various routes over there, crossing towards Lebanese territory, both in Kurdish-held territory, territory that is also still held to date by Operation Inherent Resolve, the U.S. Forces, despite the fact that they are scaling back their forces from there, as well as the Al-Julani government in Damascus that holds parts of Idlib and has their collaboration with a couple of clans. General Kimmett, is this something that is being scrutinized in an effective way to try and frustrate Iranian efforts to yet again emerge in this very strategic location?
Well, I think in a strategic point of view, we're trying to do that tactically on the ground. I don't think we're doing as well as we could or we should. As you know, next month, CJTF OIR, the U.S. forces inside of Iraq will completely end their mission and withdraw. That will leave a fairly open path between Iran and Lebanon. And I don't think that the United States will have the capability, and I don't think the Iraqis will have the willingness to stop that flow.
Well, in this context, the willingness is, of course, a strong factor in this context, and it seems like the Damascus regime, despite its malign activities and massacres perpetrated against various minorities, wants to prove itself. They don't have the number of forces to be able to be hermetically blocking such a route, but nonetheless, there are reports that they are making extensive efforts to film every catch, so to speak.
Inshallah.
Fair enough. General Gavish, when we're looking at Israeli efforts, on the one hand, to degrade Hezbollah further, while on the other hand, to prepare for any type of unexpected scenario, what should we take into consideration?
First of all, our strategy. I think that probably our viewers are very educated, and if we would have to ask them, they would answer us. The new strategy of prevention that is part of the Israeli strategy, but this is it. We have to work and to continue working while we are asking ourselves all the time, what is our strategy? And once we understand that we are on the right path, this is what we should do. I think that Israel should continuously being very active in Lebanon, not allowing the Hezbollah to grow in any way, not allow it to go out of the agreements, and to keep it in the size that it is, and hopefully even less than that. It is very important for us. I believe that it is also influencing what is happening within Lebanon. We have to remember that if we would let the situation go down, and if we would contain it as it was in the past, it would also influence in what is happening within Lebanon. It's not that we are correlated with the Lebanese government, but I think it helps them that at least we make sure that the agreement is there. So I believe that this is really what should be done, continuously done, and I believe that we are in the right path, and I'm hopeful that what the Lebanese government is trying to do with the support of the United States, France, Saudi, and others would be a successful effort.
Thank you, General Kavish. I will mention that the IDF also raided a couple of old bases of the Assad regime, commando bases on the upper slopes of the Hermon mountain on the Syrian side of that line, where they managed to capture a number of smugglers and also large swaths of, or large caches, relatively large, of course, in the context of what smugglers are able to transit through those type of very rough terrain. But nonetheless, there is also an effort done from this side, which is quite significant. General Kimmett, you wanted to mention something?
Well, I wanted to go back to this whole issue about Hezbollah disarmament. As you know, our special envoy, Tom Barak, has said now that Hezbollah has agreed to disarmament, Israel has to do its part and withdraw. It goes back to Doron's point about the strategy. And the real question is, does Israel see a strategic value, as they do in Syria, of having a forward defense and staying in Lebanon, or is it the desire of the Israeli government to pull out of Lebanon? The fact remains that perversely, if the Iranians continue to give small supplies of weapons and ammunition to Hezbollah, that actually gives rationale and authority for the Israelis to stay. But if there is some sort of mock disarmament without any type of verification and inspection afterwards, then you've got the problem that Iran can, in fact, resupply and rearm Hezbollah. So I like the agreement in principle. Hezbollah disarms and Israel pulls out, but it's the operationalizing of that agreement that I have grave concerns and suspicions over.
Indeed. Well, from what Tom Barrack said in that same announcement, that there is no agreement with Israel as of yet. And the fact of the matter is, and I completely agree with you, a parliamentary vote in Beirut and a instruction by the president, Joseph Aoun, or the prime minister, Nawaf Salam, to the military to prepare a plan for the end of the year to be able to consider an outline for their disarmament. I'm not sure how much of a move from the Lebanese side this is with tangible substance, as opposed to a demand from Israel to withdraw. That would be a very big mistake at this point. General?
Yeah, no, I agree. The question I have is, what is the trigger for Israel to withdraw from Lebanon? What inspection, verification, and proof are you going to need, not only to withdraw, but also to stay withdrawn so that Hezbollah does not rearm and resupply? I think we're a long way from there.
I think so too.
If I may add, Jonathan.
Please do.
There are three potential threats emanating out of Lebanon when Israeli planners look at this problem. There is the internal threat of Hezbollah overpowering the emerging, more stable government in Lebanon, which of course will later have repercussions for Israeli security. But apart from that, you have the rocket and missile force, which Hezbollah amassed, and it doesn't matter exactly where it is located, because it can cover much of Israel south of the border region. But the most of concern to Israel is the belt or the part of the country south of the Litani River, because the willingness of Israeli residents who were either evacuated from their villages and towns or decided to move out voluntarily, the willingness to come back and stay there is dependent on their belief that neither Radwan, the special force that Hezbollah prepared in order to raid into Israel, nor the anti-tank mortars and the like, with a range of 10, 12 kilometers, that they will not be there. And for that, Israel needs the 5 forward presence posts, and it will evacuate those only when it is certain that Hezbollah is not coming back.
Absolutely. This is a long way off, as General Kimmett also mentioned, until a true verification mechanism can be implemented in those territories to ensure that the residents, the civilians, non-combatants, can feel safe in those borderlands. Something that both Israelis and Lebanese, on the other hand, are allowed to experience. But at the same time, this Iranian proxy is a foreign actor. Namely, it is a proxy for the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has its own interests, disregarding those of Lebanon. And therefore, there are additional issues at hand, but we don't have very much time to discuss them all. General Gavish, the Iranians are claiming now that they have new ballistic missiles ready to be fired at Israel. They're better prepared than 2 months ago. I personally don't buy it, but nonetheless, what is your take on that?
Well, you're right. I mean, in 2 months, you can't do too much. But in general, we see that they are trying to show that they are still they have their own strength. They did an exercise in the last 24 hours. But we all remember what, from a military point of view, we all remember what happened during the 12 days. We remember that although they showed some pictures of airplanes, it was basically a level of training airplanes, what they've shown. So when you look at it from a professional point of view, we can say that the Iranians were hitting and were hit very hard. And we see it even when they're trying to demonstrate. This is exactly what you see when you look in a professional eye. Still, we know that they have capabilities, mainly in this world of missiles. We know that they are trying. And I think that, in some point, probably it would be the Western, hopefully led by, not hopefully, I know it is led by President Trump, that would say, okay, until this point, are you coming back to the negotiation table or something else will happen? Same rhetoric that we heard before the 12 days war. The Iranians, they are trying to take their time. A negotiation for them could be something that would be for a very long time. So I think this is what we should do in the West to pace the situation, looking into the future, and to be respectful to still they could do some damages. We have to prepare ourselves for it, but we all have to remember, and I'm sure that they remember what was the results of the 12-day war.
Indeed. Well, those in the know will, of course, try to avoid to miscalculate in this context. But nonetheless, General Kimmett, the Iranians, despite not being very capable in a face-to-face war, they do excel in asymmetry, asymmetric warfare. And as you mentioned earlier, in a month's time, the United States is going to leave Iraq. There is another Iranian proxy operating also in Yemen that is still quite vigorous in its approach to frustrate freedom of navigation, as well as to launch ballistic missiles towards Israeli territory. Do you think that those two territories would become battlegrounds from Iran's perspective, with chief focus on the Iraqi portfolio, considering the fact that there is an ongoing rivalry between Turkey and Iran there?
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a battle going on. In many ways, Iran has already won inside of Iraq. Their tentacles inside the political system, the military system, and just general population, while they're not very well liked, they are in many cases both respected and feared for those that don't like them. And of course, those that do like them are the ones that the Shia in particular that are from the Qum school rather than the Najaf school. So there's not a lot of fight to be had inside of Iraq because right now I don't see them. They're a fight. Anybody contesting the fight. And with regards to Turkey, I think for the most part, Turkey is more concerned about northern Iraq and that region and the PKK presence there, and just simply the Kurdish presence. So I think that Turks will not win up in Kurdistan. The Kurds remain independent and vitally and significantly supportive of the U.S. It's federal Iraq that I think that America is going to lose more and more influence as the troops pull out.
Less. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. I'd like to thank General Gavish, General Kimmett, and Mr. Oren for all of your insights. And I'd like to thank all of you at home as well. Until our next edition of TV7 Israel News from here in Jerusalem. Shalom. The Middle East, home to the cradle of civilization, retains a reputation from time immemorial as one of the most complex, conflict-ridden regions of the world. A cluster of nations, religions, powers, and influences, Mideast intricacies pose conundrums to even the most astute individuals. Bombarded daily, indeed every minute, by a barrage of information, some accurate, yet most of it less so, TV7 Israel invites you to watch and hear some of the most knowledgeable experts, most of whom partook in creating policies shaping this region today. Join us for Jerusalem Studio every Tuesdays and Fridays for content that truly matters. Israel has launched operations
on Vladimir Putin.
helping Iran develop. We have logic, we have rationale, we understand how the system operates.